Okay, let's just be real for a second. Does anyone else feel like they're living in a broken simulation? Your rent just doubled, but your landlord sent you a fruit basket, so it's cool? A carton of eggs costs more than a monthly subscription to 6 different streaming services you forgot you had. Your grocery bill looks like a car payment, and your car payment looks like a down payment on a house in a city you can't afford to live in. It's this weird, slow-motion economic panic attack that we've all just accepted as the new normal. We're all just one weird GoFundMe away from a medical emergency, and we're smiling through it. It's wild. And in the middle of all this chaos, something weird is happening. Your neighbor Dave, the one who mowed his lawn with military precision every Saturday at 8 a.m. and had like 1,000 American flag decals on his pickup truck, he's gone, just vanished. You ask his wife where they went, and she just whispers, Canada, like it's the name of a secret witness protection program. Then your cousin from Arizona calls, talking about how she's suddenly learning French and developing a deep, deep appreciation for something called a double-double. It's not just a coincidence, it's a pattern. A quiet, polite, maple syrup-scented exodus is happening right under our noses. So, what is going on? Why are thousands upon thousands of Americans, people who were raised on a diet of bald eagles and 4th of July fireworks, suddenly packing their bags, grabbing their passports, and heading for the land of the maple leaf? And look, I get it. We all joke about moving to Canada whenever an election doesn't go our way. It's the national coping mechanism. But this is different. This isn't a joke anymore. People are actually doing it. They're leaving behind everything they know for a country we mostly associate with hockey, politeness, and Drake. This isn't just a trickle. It's a full-blown trend. We're talking about a record-breaking surge of Americans becoming permanent residents up north. And the reasons why are way deeper and more shocking than you think. It's not just about escaping the noise or wanting to say sorry more. It's a calculated decision based on healthcare, politics, finances, and a fundamental search for a better quality of life. So stick with me, because by the end of this, you might just find yourself browsing for flights to Toronto, and I wouldn't even blame you. We're about to break down exactly why America's biggest export might just be Americans. Alright, let's talk about the #1 reason people are swapping stars and stripes for a single glorious maple leaf healthcare. In America, healthcare is a high-stakes game of Russian roulette. But instead of a bullet, it's a surprise bill for $50,000 because the anesthesiologist was, plot twist, out of network. You go to the ER with a broken arm and you leave with a cast and a lifetime of debt. It's a system where your insurance card is basically a coupon that might or might not work, and you only find out after the fact. We have the best doctors, the best technology, the best everything, except a system that lets you use it without having to sell a kidney on the dark web. So you can imagine the sheer mind-altering culture shock for an American who gets sick in Canada. You walk into a hospital, you show them a health card, not a credit card, and you get treated. That's it. That's the whole story. There's no frantic call to your insurance provider to get pre-authorization. There's no receptionist sliding a clipboard over with a list of prices that look like the GDP of a small country. You don't have to sit in the waiting room Googling how much does an appendix removal cost while actively having appendicitis. The concept of medical bankruptcy, a uniquely American horror story, is just not a thing. This isn't some fantasy. This is universal point-of-service healthcare. It means the cost of your care is covered by taxes, not by a bill that arrives in the mail 3 months later to ruin your life. Think about that for a second. The freedom to get sick without fearing financial ruin. The ability to call an ambulance without first doing a cost-benefit analysis on whether you'd rather risk death or debt. This is why you hear stories about Americans in border towns literally crossing over to Canada for insulin or to see a doctor for a persistent cough. They're not gaming the system, they're escaping a system that's gaming them, and for Americans moving there, this is a game changer. It's a massive, invisible pay raise. The thousands of dollars you were pouring into monthly premiums, deductibles, and co-pays, that money is now back in your pocket. You can use it for a down payment for your kids' education, for literally anything other than appeasing the health insurance gods. It removes a layer of chronic, low-grade stress that every single American carries with them every single day. The freedom from that fear is, for many, worth more than any salary increase. It's the freedom to just live. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of why this is such a powerful magnet. It's not just about the big, catastrophic events. It's the everyday stuff. In the US, having a baby can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000, even with good insurance. In Canada, the cost of delivering a baby in a hospital is $0. Zilch. Nada. You get a bill for a private room if you want one, or maybe for the cable TV, but not for, the actual medical procedure of childbirth. Young American couples are doing the math, and they're realizing it's cheaper to immigrate to another country than to have a family in their own. This creates a phenomenon you could almost call medical refugees. People are literally fleeing the American healthcare system. Take the story of someone with a chronic illness like Crohn's disease or diabetes. In the US, their life is a constant battle with insurance companies to approve life-saving medication, which can cost thousands per month out of pocket. In Canada, that same medication is covered. The move isn't just about a better lifestyle, it's about survival. It's the difference between rationing insulin and living a normal, healthy life. It's a choice between financial stability and constant crippling medical debt. And the American system's complexity is a feature, not a bug. It's designed to be confusing. In-network, out-of-network, deductibles, co-insurance, HSAs, FSAs, it's an alphabet soup of financial anxiety. You need a PhD in bureaucracy just to understand your own coverage. Canada's system, for all its own challenges like wait times for certain procedures, is built on a foundation of simplicity and access. Your health is a right, not a consumer product you have to shop for during a moment of crisis. That fundamental difference in philosophy is at the heart of this migration. So, when an American professional gets a job offer in Canada, the salary might look comparable at first glance, but then they factor in the fact that they're shedding, let's say, $15,000 a year in insurance premiums and out-of-pocket costs. Suddenly, that Canadian offer isn't just a job, it's a massive financial and psychological upgrade. They are buying their way out of a system that sees them as a customer first and a patient second. And for a growing number of Americans, that is a deal that is just too good to pass up. Okay, so you've solved your healthcare anxiety, amazing. But what about the other chronic illness plaguing America? The 24/7, high-volume, soul-crushing political rage machine. In the United States, politics isn't just something you discuss every few years during an election. It's a blood sport. It's your uncle's Facebook feed. It's the cable news channel that's always on at the gym, blasting outrage directly into your brain while you're just trying to do some cardio. Every issue, from what you buy at the grocery store to what you watch on TV, has become a political statement. It is exhausting. You can't just be a person anymore. You have to be a soldier in a never-ending culture war. Your neighbor's lawn sign isn't just a sign, it's a declaration of which tribe they belong to, and by extension whether or not you can borrow a cup of sugar from them. Social media has become a minefield of hot takes and bad faith arguments. Thanksgiving dinner requires a UN-level peacekeeper to negotiate the conversation. This relentless, grinding polarization is taking a real psychological toll. It creates a constant, low-level hum of anxiety and division that permeates every aspect of daily life. Now, let's be clear. Canada is not some magical apolitical utopia. They have their own heated debates, their own political divisions. They have liberals, they have conservatives, they have regional tensions, but the key difference is one of volume and temperature. The political discourse in Canada is, by and large, turned down from a 12 to, like, a 5. The fundamental premise of the country isn't constantly up for debate. There's a general consensus on things like, say, universal healthcare and multiculturalism that provides a stable floor for their society. This offers a profound sense of relief for Americans who are just tired of the anger, tired of the shouting, tired of feeling like their country is constantly on the verge of coming apart at the seams. The idea of moving to a place where a political disagreement doesn't have to end a friendship, where the news isn't designed to give you a panic attack, and where the government isn't in a perpetual state of shutdown threatening gridlock is incredibly appealing. It's an escape from the noise. It's a search for a place where you can just breathe again. Let's call this the boring dividend. When your government and your society are relatively stable and, dare I say, a little boring, it pays out in the form of mental peace. In Canada, the political scandals are like, a cabinet minister used the wrong credit card for a juice box. In America, it feels like every news alert is a constitutional crisis. That difference matters. It frees up so much mental and emotional bandwidth that Americans don't even realize they're spending just to stay informed and stay sane in their own country. This calmer political environment has real-world consequences. It fosters a greater sense of social trust. People are generally more willing to believe that their neighbors, even those they disagree with politically, are operating from a place of good faith. The intense, weaponized tribalism that has defined American life for the past decade is far less pronounced. This doesn't mean everyone holds hands and sings Kumbaya around a campfire, but it does mean that the social fabric feels stronger, more resilient, and less likely to be torn apart by the next election cycle. Think about the practical impact on daily life. In many parts of America, people are self-censoring. They're afraid to voice an opinion at work or in their community for fear of professional or social repercussions. They are curating their friendships based on voting records. In Canada, while not perfect, there's a wider space for disagreement without immediate social ostracization. The culture of multiculturalism is baked into the national identity, which, by its very nature, requires a certain level of tolerance and an acceptance of different points of view. It's a society that is, by design, less of a monoculture. Ultimately, for the Americans making this move, it's about trading the exhausting drama of a reality show for the predictable comfort of a PBS documentary. They are choosing a political landscape that is less about revolutionary fervor and more about incremental progress. They are seeking a country where the government's main goal is to be functional, not to be the main character in everyone's life every single day. That stability, that boring dividend, is a luxury that a growing number of Americans are finding is essential for their well-being. Alright, let's talk about getting a job. In America, finding a great job is the dream, but getting the visa to go with it? That's a whole different nightmare. It's a system of lotteries, endless paperwork, and hoping your employer likes you enough to spend thousands on lawyers. It's like trying to get tickets to a Taylor Swift concert, but instead of Ticketmaster crashing, it's your entire life plan. And for many highly skilled Americans who were born abroad, or even for American companies trying to hire the best global talent, the H-1B visa is a gamble. It's a lottery. You can be the most qualified person in the world, and your future still comes down to a random number generator. It's wild. So, while the US is playing visa roulette, Canada rolls out the red carpet with something called Express Entry. And look, the name itself is brilliant marketing. Express Entry. It sounds like the VIP line at the club, or Amazon Prime for your life. It's not called the maybe you'll get an eventually system or the we'll get back to you in a decade portal. It's Express. It's a points-based system that basically gamifies immigration. You get points for your age, your education, your work experience, your language skills. It's like a video game where the high score gets you a new life in a country with poutine and public health care. And the beauty of this system is its transparency. You can literally go online, calculate your score, and see where you stand. There's no mystery box, no praying to the visa gods. It's all data-driven. You know what you need to improve. Maybe you need to brush up on your French, get another degree, or get more work experience. The system tells you exactly how to become a more attractive candidate. It empowers people. It turns the anxiety of the unknown, which is the hallmark of the American system, into a clear, achievable goal. It's the difference between a vague "we'll see from your parents" and a detailed chore chart with the exact reward listed at the bottom. This is why so many American tech workers, engineers, doctors, and researchers are looking north. They're tired of the uncertainty. They have the skills, the drive, the ambition, but the American system puts them on a wait list. Canada, on the other hand, sees that talent and says, "Hey, you got a PhD and you can speak English? Get over here, we've got a lab coat and a maple latte waiting for you." It's a strategic talent acquisition on a national scale. They're not building a wall, they're building a talent magnet, and it is working beautifully. Now, if you thought Express Entry was the whole story, buckle up, because Canada has a cheat code. It's called the Provincial Nominee Program, or PNP. This is where the immigration game gets really interesting. Canada is a huge country, right? And different regions have different needs. Maybe Alberta needs more oil and gas engineers, while British Columbia is desperate for tech developers, and Prince Edward Island needs more potato farmers? I don't know, but they need people. So, each province gets to nominate immigrants they want for permanent residency. It's like the NFL draft, but for people who can code and perform surgery. This is a genius move. It decentralizes immigration and lets the provinces target the exact skills they're missing. So, if your Express Entry score isn't quite high enough for the main federal draw, you're not out of luck. A province like Saskatchewan or Nova Scotia can look at your profile and say, "Hey, this person is a perfect fit for our local economy, we want them." And getting that provincial nomination gives you a massive 600-point boost to your Express Entry score. That's not a nudge, that's a rocket launch. It basically guarantees you'll get an invitation to apply for residency. It's the ultimate power-up. Compare that to the US. The American system is a one-size-fits-all monolith. It doesn't care if Silicon Valley needs coders or if rural Kansas needs doctors. The quotas are the quotas. It's a rigid, centralized system that is completely out of touch with local economic realities. This is why you see American professionals, frustrated with being stuck in a career holding pattern, looking at Canada's PNPs. They can literally choose a province that values their specific skill set. A place where they are not just another number in a lottery, but a wanted, nominated professional. So what does this mean for Americans? It means options, it means strategy. You can tailor your immigration journey. You can look at the job market in Vancouver or the tech scene in Toronto, or the growing economy in Halifax, and you can apply to a program that is actively looking for someone just like you. It's a system designed for success, not a bureaucratic maze designed to wear you down. Canada isn't just opening the door, it's sending a personalized invitation to the people it wants, and a lot of those people are currently sitting in American offices, dreaming of a country that actually wants them. Okay, so Canada has these cool pathways, but are they actually letting people in? Or is this all just good PR? Let's look at the numbers. Because numbers don't have feelings. They don't have a political agenda. And Canada's numbers are screaming a very clear message. In 2023, Canada set a target to welcome 465,000 new permanent residents. Let me say that again. Almost 500,000 people in 1 year. And for 2025, they're aiming for 500,000. This isn't an accident. This isn't a statistical blip. This is a deliberate, aggressive, and public national strategy. Now let's put that in perspective. The United States, a country with about 9 times Canada's population, grants about 1 million green cards a year. So, adjusted for population, Canada is welcoming new permanent residents at a rate roughly 5 times higher than the United States. 5 times. It's not even in the same league. It's like comparing the number of fans at a high school football game to the Super Bowl. Canada's immigration minister literally goes on TV and announces these targets. He's like Oprah giving away cars, but instead of cars, it's citizenship. You get a PR and you get a PR, everybody gets a PR. This public declaration of targets is a game changer. It creates predictability. It tells the world, and specifically skilled workers sitting in America, we have spots, we want you, and here's how many of you we're going to welcome. This is the opposite of the American approach, which feels shrouded in secrecy and political whims. U.S. immigration levels are a constant political football, kicked back and forth between parties. One administration might expand a program, the next might slash it with an executive order. For someone planning their entire family's future, that level of uncertainty is terrifying. So, when Americans, especially those who are immigrants themselves, look at Canada, they see a country with a plan. They see a government that views immigration not as a problem to be managed, but as a solution to economic and demographic challenges. They see their future not as a matter of luck or political favor, but as part of a clear, multi-year national project. This isn't just about making it easier to get in, it's about the fundamental attitude towards immigrants. Canada is saying, welcome, while the US is saying, prove you deserve to be here. And that difference in tone is everything. But why? Why is Canada doing this? Is it just because they're nice? No, this is not about kindness, this is about math. Canada has a low birth rate and an aging population. Sound familiar? It's a problem facing most developed nations, including the US. But Canada's response is just more logical. They've looked at the demographic numbers and realized that without a massive influx of new people, their economy will stagnate, their social programs will become insolvent, and there will be no one to take care of all the aging hockey fans. Immigration is their economic survival plan. This is a fundamental philosophical difference. The US immigration debate is often framed around scarcity and fear. They're taking our jobs, they're a drain on resources, it's a zero-sum game. Canada, however, frames immigration as a net positive. Immigrants start businesses at a higher rate than Canadian-born citizens. They pay taxes that fund the very social programs like healthcare and pensions that everyone uses. They bring new ideas, new energy, and new connections to the global economy. They are not a burden. They are the engine of future growth. It's a completely different mindset. This long-term vision is reflected in the emphasis on permanent residency. The goal isn't just to bring in temporary workers to fill a short-term gap and then send them home. The goal is to build a nation. They want people to come, put down roots, buy houses, raise families, and become Canadian citizens. The system is designed to create stakeholders, not just guest workers. This promise of stability, of a clear path to citizenship, is incredibly appealing to Americans who may be living on temporary visas with no clear future, constantly worried that a layoff could mean deportation. So, when an American professional looks at Canada's high PR targets, they see more than just a number. They see a country that is investing in its future by investing in people like them. They see a nation that is actively trying to build a diverse, dynamic, and growing society for the 21st century. The American system, bogged down by political infighting and short-term thinking, seems to be managing decline. Canada, on the other hand, is aggressively planning for growth. And for anyone with ambition and a desire for stability, the choice is becoming glaringly obvious. Okay, permanent residency is the ultimate prize, but what if you want to just try Canada out first? Like a free trial, but for a country. Well, Canada's got you covered there too. Let's talk about work permits. In the US, getting a work permit is usually tied to a specific employer. It's called an H-1B or an L-1 visa. Your visa, your legal status, your entire life in the country is chained to one company. If you get laid off, or if your boss turns out to be a nightmare, you're in trouble. You have a very short window to find a new employer willing to sponsor you, or you have to pack your bags. It's a system that creates a massive power imbalance. Now, enter Canada's concept of the open work permit. This is a truly revolutionary idea. An open work permit is not tied to a specific employer. It lets you work for almost any company, anywhere in Canada. You can change jobs, you can negotiate for a better salary, you can quit a toxic workplace, all without jeopardizing your immigration status. It gives you the same freedom and mobility that a Canadian citizen has in the job market. It's a work permit that actually treats you like a professional, not like corporate property. This is a huge deal. And Canada is handing these out like free samples at Costco. They have programs like the International Experience Canada, or IEC, for young people, which is incredibly popular. But the real kicker is for spouses. If you get a skilled worker visa or a student permit, your spouse or common law partner is often eligible for an open work permit. Think about that. The US system often forces the trailing spouse to give up their career. In Canada, they're saying, your partner is a valuable professional, and we want them in our workforce too. This two-income potential makes the move to Canada not just emotionally easier but financially much smarter. This flexibility is a massive draw for American families. It reduces risk. The whole family's future doesn't rest on one person's job. It allows for dual-career households to thrive. For Americans used to the rigid employer-centric US system, the freedom of an open work permit feels like a breath of fresh air. It's a system built on trust and a recognition that a worker's value isn't tied to a single desk at a single company. It's about empowering individuals to contribute to the economy in the best way they see fit, and that is a radical concept. Now, for specific jobs, Canada does have employer-specific work permits, similar to the US, but, of course, they made it better. The biggest hurdle for employer-specific visas in most countries is something called a labor market test. In Canada, it's the Labor Market Impact Assessment, or LMIA. This is where an employer has to prove to the government that they couldn't find a Canadian to do the job. It can be a long, expensive, and complicated process. It's the bureaucratic bottleneck that stops many companies from hiring foreign talent. But here's the Canadian secret sauce. They have a massive list of LMIA exemptions. Under trade agreements like the new NAFTA or USMCA, many categories of American professionals, like management consultants, scientists, and other professionals, can completely bypass the LMIA process. For them, getting a work permit can be as simple as showing up at the border with your degree, a job offer letter, and your passport. You can literally get your work permit approved on the spot. It's not a 6-month wait, it's a 20-minute conversation with a border officer. This creates an incredibly streamlined pathway for American talent. Canadian companies can hire an American engineer or accountant with minimal red tape and uncertainty. This makes Americans incredibly attractive hires for Canadian firms. Why go through a 6-month LMIA process to hire someone from another country when you can get an equally qualified American to start next Monday? This isn't just a benefit for the worker, it's a massive competitive advantage for Canadian businesses trying to attract top-tier talent from the world's largest economy right next door. So while the US system makes it hard for American companies to hire the best global talent, the Canadian system makes it incredibly easy for Canadian companies to poach the best American talent. It's a strategic masterstroke. They have identified the biggest pain point in the corporate immigration process, the labor market test, and created a dedicated express lane for their closest trading partner, They are literally rolling out the welcome mat for skilled Americans, making the process so easy and so fast that for many, the question isn't why move to Canada, but why wouldn't I? Alright, let's talk about school. In America, getting a degree feels like signing up for a financial death pact. You walk out with a diploma in one hand and a debt that could buy a small island in the other. It's a system where the price tag for knowledge is so high, it's basically a luxury good, like a Gucci belt for your brain. You've got students taking out loans that will haunt them longer than their questionable fashion choices from freshman year. It's an entire generation starting their adult lives in a financial hole. And for what? The privilege of learning Shakespeare while eating ramen for 4 straight years? It's a brutal, unforgiving system that's making young Americans look north for a better deal. And Canada is right there waving a maple leaf flag like, hey, over here! We have universities that won't require you to sell a kidney on the dark web. The numbers are staggering. In recent years, the number of American students enrolling in Canadian universities has exploded. We're talking a massive influx, a brain drain in reverse. These aren't just students looking for a semester abroad, they are actively choosing Canada for their entire higher education journey. They're looking at the sticker price of a US education, then looking at the Canadian equivalent, and the math is just better. It's a strategic move, a calculated escape from the American student debt crisis. This isn't just about saving a few bucks. It's about a fundamental difference in philosophy. Canada treats higher education as a public good, an investment in its future. The US? It's a for-profit industry, a market where the customer is the student and the product is a future shackled by debt. Canadian universities, while not free, are significantly more affordable for international students than US schools are for out-of-state or even in-state students. The cost of living in many Canadian cities is also more manageable. It's a holistic package that makes financial sense, allowing students to focus on their studies instead of their mounting interest rates. So you have this wave of young, ambitious Americans packing their bags, not just for the poutine and the politeness, but for a shot at a future that isn't mortgaged before it even begins. They're choosing a system that values their potential over their parents' bank account. And here's the kicker. Canada isn't just happy to have them for 4 years, they've built a system that encourages these bright minds to stay. This isn't a study abroad program, it's a recruitment drive for the next generation of Canadian innovators, thinkers, and taxpayers. The pipeline from student visa to permanent residency is clear, direct, and incredibly appealing. Okay, so you've graduated. In the United States, that means the clock starts ticking. You have a grace period before the student loan kraken is released from its cage to drag you to the financial depths. Your job search is a frantic race against time and compound interest. But in Canada, graduation is just the beginning of the welcome party. They roll out the red carpet with something called the Post-Graduation Work Permit, or PGWP. It's basically Canada saying, hey, thanks for studying here. We've invested in you. Now, how about you stick around, get a job, and help us build this place up? The PGWP is a game changer. It's an open work permit that allows eligible graduates from Canadian institutions to work for any employer anywhere in Canada for up to 3 years. There's no need to find a company to sponsor you right out of the gate. No frantic search for a job in your specific field. You have the freedom and flexibility to gain valuable Canadian work experience, explore different career paths, and actually start building a life. It's a bridge, a seamless transition from student to professional, and it's one of the most powerful tools in Canada's immigration arsenal. American grads are looking at this and their minds are blown. Now compare this to the situation for international students graduating in the United States. It's a nightmare. It's a bureaucratic labyrinth designed by MC Escher. You're dealing with the optional practical training or OPT program, which is limited, restrictive, and tied to a lottery system for the H-1B visa. You could be the most brilliant engineer from MIT, but your future in the country might come down to a literal roll of the dice. It's a system that actively pushes talent away. Canada, on the other hand, sees that talent and says, please stay, we want you. That Canadian work experience you get on a PGWP, it's gold for your permanent residency application. This pathway is a massive pull factor. It tells American students and their families that an investment in a Canadian education is also an investment in a tangible, achievable future. It's not just a degree, it's a ticket to a new life. It alleviates the pressure and anxiety that defines the post-graduation experience for so many in the States. Instead of being thrown into the deep end of the job market with a mountain of debt, you're given a sturdy raft and a paddle. It's a smarter, more humane system, and it's why Canada's campuses are looking more and more like a United Nations of ambitious young people with a growing American delegation. Let's talk about having a baby in America. Congratulations! It's a beautiful, life-changing experience that will immediately be followed by a series of terrifying questions. How much time can I take off? Will I have a job when I get back? How are we going to pay for this? The United States is the only, let me repeat that, the only developed nation in the world without a federal mandate for paid parental leave. We're in a club with Papua New Guinea. That's it. You might get 12 weeks of unpaid leave under FMLA if you're lucky, if you qualify, if your company is big enough. It's a cruel joke. Now let's hop over the border into the land of civilized family policy. In Canada, having a baby doesn't trigger a financial and professional crisis. They have a national parental benefits program that is, frankly, breathtaking to the American eye. Parents can choose between standard leave, which is up to 12 months, or extended leave, which is up to 18 months. That's a year and a half. You can actually be there for your child's first words, their first steps, all without having to sell your plasma to make rent. This isn't some niche boutique policy, it's a nationwide, government-funded program accessible to nearly everyone. This time is shared between parents, encouraging both partners to be involved in the early stages of a child's life. During this leave, you receive a percentage of your income, paid through the country's employment insurance program. It's typically 55% for the standard option or 33% for the extended option, up to a maximum amount. It's not a full salary, but it's a stable, predictable income that provides a crucial safety net. It allows families to bond, to recover, and to adjust to their new reality without the crushing stress of impending poverty. It's a system designed by people who have apparently met a human baby before. For young American professionals looking to start a family, this is more than just a perk. It's a lifeline. They see their friends and colleagues in the United States cobbling together sick days and vacation time for a few weeks off, or one parent being forced out of the workforce entirely. Then they look at Canada and see a system that respects and supports one of the most fundamental human experiences. It's a powerful incentive, a signal that this is a country where you can have both a career and a family, and the government will actually help you do it. The choice becomes painfully clear. The Canadian system goes beyond just giving you time off. It's about creating a comprehensive financial cushion for new parents. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, because the details are what make this so revolutionary from an American perspective. The program includes maternity benefits, which are specifically for the person giving birth, covering the period around the birth for physical and emotional recovery. This is typically 15 weeks. Then the parental benefits kick in, the 12 or 18 months we talked about, which can be shared between the parents however they choose. This flexibility is key. Think about what this does for gender equality. In the United States, the burden of childcare, especially in the first year, falls disproportionately on mothers, often derailing their careers. In Canada, the system actively encourages fathers or non-birthing partners to take significant leave. When a dad can take 6 months off to be the primary caregiver, it changes everything. It rebalances domestic labor, strengthens the paternal bond, and allows the mother to re-enter the workforce more smoothly if she chooses. It's a policy that engineers a more equitable and modern family structure. It's not just about babies, it's about building a better society. And let's not forget the Canada Child Benefit, or CCB. This is a separate program that sends families a tax-free monthly payment to help with the cost of raising children under 18. The amount you get is tied to your income. The less you make, the more you get. And it's a direct injection of cash into the pockets of families who need it most. There are no strings attached. You can use it for diapers, for groceries, for saving for their education. It's a program that has been credited with dramatically reducing child poverty across Canada. It's a simple, effective, and profoundly humane policy. So, for an American couple doing the math, it's a no-brainer. In the United States, you have a baby, and your expenses skyrocket while your income plummets. You're on your own. In Canada, you have a baby, and a whole system of support clicks into place. You get paid time off for over a year. You get monthly cash payments to help with costs. You have the security of knowing your job is protected. It's a comprehensive, wraparound support system that says families are a national treasure worth investing in. And that message is being heard loud and clear by a generation of Americans who are tired of being told to go it alone. Okay, so your generous year-and-a-half-long parental leave is over. Now what? In the US, this is where the next financial nightmare begins. Childcare. The cost of daycare in the United States is astronomical. It's insane. In many states, a year of infant care costs more than a year of in-state college tuition. Let that sink in. You're paying university prices for someone to make sure your toddler doesn't eat crayons. Families are spending 20, 30, sometimes 40% of their income just so they can go to work. It's an unsustainable economic burden that cripples family finances and forces parents, usually mothers, out of the workforce. Enter Canada's master plan. For years, the province of Quebec has been the gold standard with its heavily subsidized low-fee daycare system. The rest of Canada looked at that model, saw that it worked wonders for the economy and for families and said, yes please, we'll have what they're having. The federal government is now rolling out a nationwide early learning and childcare system. The goal? To bring the average cost of licensed childcare down to just $10 a day. That's not a typo. $10 a day. For less than the price of a sad desk salad in Manhattan, your child gets a full day of quality early childhood education. This isn't just about making childcare affordable, it's about making it accessible and high quality. The plan involves massive federal investment to create new regulated spaces, increase wages for early childhood educators to attract and retain talent, and build a system that parents can actually rely on. It's a recognition that the years from 0 to 5 are critically important for a child's development, and that access to quality care is a right, not a privilege for the wealthy. It's an economic policy as much as it is a social one. When you make childcare affordable, you empower more parents to work, boosting the labor force and the economy. For American families drowning in childcare costs, the idea of $10 a day daycare feels like a fantasy. It's a level of government support for families that is simply unimaginable in the current U.S. political climate. They are looking at their paychecks, seeing a huge chunk disappear to a daycare center, and then looking north to a country that is actively solving this exact problem on a national scale. This policy alone is enough to make young families pack their bags. It represents a different social contract, a country that invests in its youngest citizens and, by extension, in the economic well-being and sanity of their parents. Let's be clear, this subsidized childcare program is one of the most ambitious social policies Canada has undertaken in decades. It's a fundamental rethinking of the value of care work and early childhood education. In the U.S., childcare is often seen as a private family responsibility, a personal problem you have to solve with your own resources. If you can't afford it, that's on you. This mindset creates massive inequality, where children from wealthier families get access to high-quality preschools while others are left behind before they even start kindergarten. It's a system that perpetuates generational disadvantage. Canada is taking the opposite approach. They are framing early learning and childcare as a public good, just like K through 12 education or public libraries. It's infrastructure. It's essential. By creating a universal system, they are leveling the playing field, ensuring that every child, regardless of their parents' income, has access to an environment that fosters their social, emotional, and cognitive development. This isn't just babysitting. These are structured programs with trained educators, focused on play-based learning and school readiness. It's an investment that pays dividends for decades in the form of better educational outcomes, higher earning potential, and even better health. The economic case is just as powerful. Economists on both sides have shown that for every dollar invested, the return to society is anywhere from $4 to $9. You see it in increased tax revenue from parents who can work more, reduce spending on social assistance, and a more skilled and productive future workforce. Quebec's system, for example, has been credited with a massive increase in female labor force participation, boosting the province's GDP significantly. Canada is looking at this data and making a smart, evidence-based bet on its own future. So when Americans look at this, they see a country that is playing the long game. A country that understands that supporting families isn't a handout, it's a strategic investment. They see a system that alleviates one of the single biggest sources of financial stress in a young family's life. It frees up thousands of dollars a year in the family budget, money that can be used for a down payment on a house, for savings, for just living with a little less anxiety. The promise of affordable, high-quality childcare is a siren song for American parents, and it's another major reason the escape to Canada is becoming so appealing. Alright, let's talk about something that hits close to home for a lot of people's safety. You know, that feeling of being able to walk down the street at night without having to clutch your keys like you're Wolverine getting ready for a bar fight. Now, I love America, but let's be real. Our relationship with crime statistics is complicated. It's like looking at your credit card statement after a long weekend in Vegas. You know it's bad, you just don't want to look. But when you do, the numbers are staring back at you, cold and hard. And those numbers, when you put them side by side with Canada's, start to paint a pretty stark picture. It's a tale of two North American countries, one with a blockbuster action movie level of drama, and the other with a much more, shall we say, indie film vibe. So, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the data deep dive. The FBI's own numbers show a violent crime rate in the US that consistently overshadows Canada's. We're talking about a homicide rate that can be 3, sometimes 4 times higher south of the border. Think about that. For every one person tragically losing their life to violence in Canada, multiple people are in the United States. And it's not just homicides, we're talking aggravated assaults, robberies, the whole 9 yards. It's like Canada chose to sit out the crime Olympics, while America is out here trying to sweep the gold medals in categories you really don't want to win. This isn't just a headline, it's a daily reality that shapes how people live, where they send their kids to school, and the baseline level of anxiety they carry around. And look, I know what you're thinking, Hassan, you can't just compare entire countries. What about New York versus like Saskatoon? Fair point, but even when you break it down, the trend holds. Major Canadian cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal consistently rank as some of the safest large urban centers in the world. Meanwhile, many American cities are grappling with crime waves that make the evening news look like a police procedural. This isn't about fear-mongering, it's about acknowledging a fundamental difference in the social fabric. It's the difference between locking your car in your own driveway, and maybe, just maybe, forgetting to lock your front door once in a while without spiraling into a full-blown panic attack. That peace of mind is a luxury, and it's one Americans are starting to shop for. So why is this? What's the secret sauce? Well, it's a whole cocktail of factors. We're talking about stricter gun control laws, a stronger social safety net, differences in policing philosophies, and community investment. In Canada, the debate around guns isn't a culture war. It's a public health issue. When you remove tens of millions of firearms from the equation, guess what? Things tend to get a little less shooty. This creates a foundational sense of security that permeates society. It's not a perfect system. No country is a utopia. But the cumulative effect is a palpable sense of calm that many Americans are finding increasingly irresistible. They're looking north and seeing a country that's just a little less on edge, and they're asking themselves, why can't we have that? But beyond the spreadsheets and the bar graphs, there's the feeling. The intangible, unquantifiable vibe of a place. It's the difference between hearing sirens and thinking, I hope everyone's okay, versus hearing sirens and thinking, oh God, what now? For American families making the move, this is often the biggest driver. They talk about the relief of not having to worry about active shooter drills becoming a real-life event at their kids' elementary school. Let that sink in. A generation of American parents has had to have conversations with their 6-year-olds about what to do if a bad person with a gun comes to their school. That is not normal. That is a psychological burden that no parent should have to carry. This sense of security extends beyond the dramatic headlines. It's about the small things. It's about kids being able to ride their bikes to the park by themselves. It's about communities where people still know their neighbors' names. In many Canadian suburbs and towns, there's a throwback feeling of community trust that has been eroded in many parts of the US by fear and division. This isn't to say that Canada is some perfect 1950s sitcom, but the social contract feels a little more intact. People are generally more trusting, less guarded. It's a society that operates on a lower frequency of ambient anxiety, and for Americans coming from a high-stress, high-alert environment, the difference is like taking the world's deepest breath. And this feeling has a direct impact on mental health. Constantly being on guard, worrying about your safety and the safety of your loved ones takes a toll. It contributes to stress, anxiety, and a general sense of unease. When you remove that constant, low-level threat, you free up so much mental and emotional bandwidth. Suddenly, you're not just surviving, you're living. You're not just preoccupied with worst-case scenarios, you're able to be present in your own life. This is the quality of life upgrade that Americans are seeking. They're not just escaping crime, they're escaping the fear of crime, which can be just as debilitating. It's a trade-up from a state of constant vigilance to a state of communal peace. So, when Americans look north, they see more than just a different flag. They see a different way of life. They see a society that has made a conscious choice to prioritize collective well-being and safety over certain individual liberties, particularly when it comes to firearms. And for a growing number of people, that trade-off looks like a pretty sweet deal. They are tired of the anxiety, the division, and the ever-present threat of violence. They are looking for a place where their kids can be kids, where communities feel like communities, and where the pursuit of happiness doesn't require a bulletproof vest. They are looking for Canada, a country that, while not perfect, offers a powerful and compelling promise, the promise of peace. Let's talk about America's favorite pastime. And no, it's not baseball, it's work. We are obsessed. We have turned the hustle into a religion. Our temples are WeWorks, our prophets are billionaire CEOs who wake up at 4 in the morning, and our sacred texts are productivity blogs. We wear burnout like a badge of honor. Oh, you only worked 60 hours this week? Slacker. I haven't seen my family since the Obama administration. We have romanticized the grind to the point where taking a vacation feels like a betrayal of our national ethos. It's a toxic relationship, and America, honey, we need to talk, because while we're busy hustling, our neighbors to the north are, well, they're probably at the cottage. And here's the crazy part, they're not falling behind, they're just living. Canada has a fundamentally different approach to the relationship between work and life. It's baked into the culture, and more importantly, it's baked into the law. In the United States, there is no federal law mandating paid vacation time. Zero, nada. Your boss could legally give you no vacation days, and their only consequence would be a bunch of miserable employees. In Canada, every single province mandates a minimum of 2 weeks of paid vacation for all workers, which increases to 3 weeks after a few years of service. It's the legal, bare minimum. Most professional jobs offer 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or even 5 weeks to start. It's a country that believes rest is not a reward, it's a right. This isn't just about the amount of time off, it's about the culture around taking it. In many American workplaces, there's this unspoken pressure to not use all your vacation days. It's called vacation shaming. You're afraid you'll look less committed, that you'll fall behind, that you'll be replaced by the intern who subsists on Red Bull and ambition. In Canada, that pressure is largely absent. Taking your full vacation is expected. Your boss will literally tell you, hey, you need to book your time off. It's seen as essential for preventing burnout and maintaining productivity. They understand a simple truth that seems to elude us. A well-rested employee is a better employee. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and Canada is handing out water at every station. So what does this look like in practice? It means long weekends are actually long weekends, not just catch up on emails days. It means summer Fridays are a thing. It means that when you're on vacation, you're actually on vacation. The expectation is that you will disconnect. You're not expected to be checking your email from a beach in Prince Edward Island. This respect for personal time creates a healthier, more sustainable work environment. It allows people to pursue hobbies, spend time with family, travel, and just be. It's a radical concept, I know. But it turns out that your entire personality doesn't have to be your job title. Americans are looking at this model and realizing that work-life balance doesn't have to be a myth, it can be a reality. This philosophy of balance extends beyond just vacation days. Look at statutory holidays. Canada has more of them. On average, Canadians get about 9 to 10 paid public holidays per year, depending on the province. In the United States, the federal number is comparable, but there's a huge catch. Private employers are not required to give you that time off. Thanksgiving, Christmas, sure, you'll probably get those, but President's Day, Columbus Day? Good luck. Many Americans, especially in retail and service industries, work right through them. In Canada, these stat holidays are for everyone. The country actually shuts down and people go and do things. It's a collective pause button that reinforces the idea that life is more than just labor. And what about the workday itself? While the 9 to 5 is still common, there's a greater cultural acceptance of reasonable work hours. The FaceTime culture, where you have to be seen at your desk late into the evening to prove your worth, is far less prevalent. Productivity is measured by output, not by the number of hours you spend looking busy. This creates a more efficient and focused work environment. People come in, do their work, and then they go home. They go to their kids' soccer game, they meet friends for dinner, they live a life outside the office walls. For Americans trapped in a cycle of endless hours and performative presenteeism, this is a breath of fresh, unrecirculated air. This cultural shift is attracting a specific type of American professional, the one who's burned out. The tech worker who's tired of the 80-hour work weeks in Silicon Valley, the lawyer who's billed so many hours they've forgotten what sunlight feels like, the consultant who has more airline miles than home-cooked meals. They are looking for an off-ramp from the hustle culture that doesn't require them to sacrifice their career. Canada offers exactly that. It's a place where you can have a challenging, fulfilling job and also have a life. You can be ambitious and also be a present parent, a good friend, and a well-rested human being. It's not an either-or proposition. Ultimately, this is about a different definition of success. The American dream has, for many, become a nightmare of debt, stress, and relentless work. Success is measured by the size of your house and the title on your business card. In Canada, there's a growing sense that success is also measured by the richness of your life outside of work. It's measured in time spent with loved ones, in experiences had, in moments of peace and relaxation. It's a more holistic, more human-centric view of a life well lived. And for an increasing number of Americans, that version of the dream is looking a whole lot more appealing. They're voting with their feet, crossing the border in search of a better balance sheet for their lives, not just their careers. So, there you have it. Universal healthcare that won't bankrupt you. A political climate that's less civil war and more civil discussion. Immigration pathways that actually want you to come. Support for families that feels like the government is actually on your team. Safer streets and a work-life balance that lets you, have a life. When you stack it all up, it's not hard to see why the idea of escaping to Canada has moved from a punchline people tweet on election night to a legitimate life plan for tens of thousands of Americans. The data is clear, the stories are compelling, and the trend is undeniable. The Great White North is looking more and more like the greener pasture. And look, we get it. The decision to leave your home country is massive. It's not easy. You're leaving behind family, friends, and everything you've ever known. But what this flood of new residents shows is that for many, the pull factors are starting to outweigh the pushbacks. Canada is no longer just America's quiet, polite neighbor. It's becoming a beacon. It's a demonstration that a different way of organizing a society is not only possible, but thriving. It's a country that is actively choosing to invest in its people, in their health, their safety, and their well-being. And in a world that feels increasingly chaotic, that sense of stability and care is the ultimate competitive advantage. So, what do you think? Are these reasons enough to make you consider a move? Let us know in the comments below. We read them, we love them, even the angry ones. And if you found this deep dive insightful, or if it just confirmed your decision to start learning the words to O Canada, do us a huge favor. Hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss what's next, and share this video with someone who's been dreaming of a life with more poutine and less political pundits. Every click helps us keep digging into the stories that matter. Canada isn't just a backup plan anymore, folks. For a growing number of Americans, it's becoming Plan A. Thanks for sticking with us through this journey. We appreciate every single one of you for watching. We're already working on our next video, where we're going to break down why some of the world's biggest tech companies are setting up massive hubs in Canadian cities. You're not going to want to miss it. So stay tuned, stay curious, and we'll see you next time. Peace.